Some of the others, okay.
Okay. All right.
I'll start the clock whenever you go.
Education and learning has always been about capturing and sharing knowledge. That has not changed. However, in the last decade, globalisation and internationalisation, rapid technological advances, and the rise of social media as a communication tool have led to an e-learning explosion. This brings opportunities, but also a lot of problems and challenges for higher educational institutions. They are now educating digital natives. Students now were practically born with a computer. Their needs and their expectations and their learning styles have really changed, particularly in the last decade, the new students that are coming through. I'm both a part-time lecturer and student at the Hague University of Applied Sciences, and I've got extensive experience with both e-learning and traditional face-to-face. I did my entire bachelor's degree, a Bachelor of Business in Marketing and Tourism, via distance learning and e-learning, and I now teach with colleagues who believe that there should be no laptops, no phones in the room, and if you don't memorise a textbook that's 500 pages from cover to cover, the chances of passing the exam are really slim. I've seen a lot of challenges for both educators and students, who are the main group that I've looked at in this research. And I've seen very minimal explicit links between e-learning and study success, which is why I chose this topic. My aim was to explore this e-learning explosion and explain it to other people. I wanted to better understand and take advantage of this and teach others to do the same. I had three objectives: give people a compact but thorough overview, explore e-learning and study success in practice at one particular institution, being the Hague University of Applied Sciences, and also formulate some practical recommendations, mainly aimed at the educators, but of course the students are an important part of that. So you would have seen the beautiful research navigator throughout the thesis, which shows you exactly what I did in each chapter. I'm not going to go into great depth. This is a 10-minute brief highlights, and of course you can grill me as much as you like afterwards on any page that you like. But the research design and strategies were very carefully planned to answer all 6 of the research questions, and they led to answering the central research question: was how can e-learning enhance study success at the Hague University of Applied Sciences? I chose a combination of strategies. So the literature review gave the basis and looked a bit broader, and then the field work went specifically on the observations, surveys and interviews at the Hague University. I chose 3 strategies, even though it was really time consuming, because that meant that I could look at the data from all different angles, and it led to a really robust and credible research document. I took multiple measures for quality concerns, and you can see them in the thesis. Excuse me a minute, I'm just going to have a quick sip of water. So research question 1 and 2 were: which elements are most relevant to e-learning in the context of higher education and study success? I did an extensive literature review over many months, but educators and students don't have time to do the reading that I did. I used a definition of e-learning being learning conducted using electronic, digital and/or online methods, and study success being the gaining of knowledge and reaching of personal academic goals. And this led to one of the most valuable parts of the research, which was developing a conceptual model. Anyone who wants to better understand e-learning and study success in the context of higher education can, at a glance, understand the main elements they need to be aware of. And they can use this in any way that's relevant to them. For example, they can scan through and decide which ones they already know a bit about and which they might want to look more into, or they can read extensively about each, which I've covered in the thesis. I verified the concept model by asking people in a survey. I gave them a blank copy of the conceptual model, and I didn't want to taint their input, so I didn't tell them the ones I'd come up with, and I got them to fill this out. So to increase the response rate, I did 4 different versions, which were both written and online. So this is an example of one of the written ones, and then they wrote them in. They didn't come up with the exact words I did, but one of the most significant findings is that they did align very well with the ones that I came up with. So of the 28 educators and 29 students, I was able to verify this model as being a good representation of both of these concepts. Then I moved on to defining and operationalising them specifically at this university. As I expected, definitions differ. If you ask people what e-learning means and what study success means, again, it doesn't match word for word. However, they were very supportive of the broad definitions I was working with. I also found there are other terms that people used, and this is about operationalising, and I came up with these via a thematic analysis, and that is the e-learning and study success are terms that are used in operationalisation. How is it measured and communicated depends on the definition. So with e-learning and study success, it's absolutely possible to measure them. It just depends on why you're measuring them, and then you decide on which pieces you want to measure. And communicating it, it's really, really clear here. You can see both educators and students don't believe that the university is regularly communicating on e-learning. And then the core part of the research was to try and find a relationship. And there is absolutely a relationship. You can see here of all the educators and students, only one of all of them asked believe that e-learning is not important to study success. So the rest all felt that it was crucial, important, or possibly important. So this is a really significant finding. On top of that, study success, we've seen for many years that face-to-face learning leads to study success, or some element of it. And my argument is that there should be an additional cog. It's coming, but it's coming really, really slowly. And for some, not using this e-learning means that they're not reaching study success. So it's all about offering options in the communication of knowledge and what's called a blended learning approach. There's still a place for face-to-face. Just because you have Google, it doesn't mean that you don't need an education. But the e-learning element absolutely has to increase. Even one of our board members has admitted in an interview that the Hague University is lagging behind in the e-learning element, and this is confirmed by all my data with educators and students. So the central research question to answer this, how can it enhance study success at the Hague University? And there are 5 specific ways. By offering more flexibility, a choice of pace and place for students that need it. More engagement because interaction and fun. Employability. Employers want these 21st century skills. They want students who have worked with and are comfortable with technology. Internationalisation, so developing globals to connected citizens. And finally, it can also enhance communication because once you bring these learning communities together online, you can communicate with them both face-to-face and via the e-learning. I've come up with 7 recommendations which educators can use right from a board level, right down to a faculty level, program level, or even a lecturer level. These I'm happy to answer questions on, but they're depending on what the educator needs. So they can use all 7, they can use 1 or 2, one or 3, so it's up to what their specific needs are. And because educators are busy, I've come up with an implementation framework for them. So if they follow this by defining, understanding, operationalising, communicating and measuring, then it's much more likely to lead to study success. And I don't just want this shelved on the shelf after I graduate, I want this to be a working document. It's already in circulation. It gives a quick but robust overview. It shows some very likely links between e-learning and study success. It gives a snapshot of e-learning attitudes and it leads to blended learning. So blended learning, I believe, is the real solution, a combination of e-learning and face-to-face. It's likely to be of interest to other higher educational institutions and not just the Hague University. It has limitations. It is not the magic solution. Some people feel more differently about technology than others. I only had limited time to work on this, but I'm planning on continuing. Further research is possible, of course, it depends on the money. Where is the money for further research? And there are some grants that I've seen available and some opportunities within the university itself. Being a student, I've looked at being critical. I wrote a blog along the way and I've focused on I've focused on quality throughout. So what next? It's already had some positive feedback from the Dean, from my manager, the Program Director. I've been asked to be a blended learning expert in the new network curriculum. I've made connections with other institutions. I plan on submitting a journal article and conference paper and continuing a career in this field. Thank you. So, bring on the critical debate.
Wow.